In this video, we're gonna go through a financial plan saving for college, and I'm gonna use an example of a young couple in their late 30s with 2 kids. And by the end of the video, we're gonna figure out how much we need to save for college. What is that college cost going to look like? How much we need to save on a monthly or annual basis? How do we match that target rate of return from our investment portfolio in order to figure out how much we need to save and whether or not we can actually reach our goals? So we're gonna go through all of this through a financial plan so you can really understand how to save for college. So let's go ahead and start with the basic facts. And I'm gonna pull it up on a whiteboard right here. And this young couple's names are Alessandra at age 37, who makes $145,000. We have Lewis at 37, age 37, and he earns $120,000 per year. Now here are their 2 kids. Ariana is age 5. She has a 529 college savings plan with currently $12,000 already saved. Alberto is age 3. He also has a 529 plan, and he currently has $5,000 saved. Both plans have the same amount of savings going in on an annual basis at $2,400 here. And then we're targeting an 8% rate of return. Now, this is just our assumed rate of return. This is probably one of the hardest concepts for people to wrap their minds around who are just starting out saving. So I'm going to touch upon this a little bit more, but we're going to assume an 8%. And our target right here is UF is the University of Florida. And the cost here are going to be $117,060. That's future dollars. That's not today's dollars. And that's for 4 years at UF. And USF is going to be $143,992. And again, I'm going to show you how we got these numbers as we go through the plan to figure out what those costs really are. So let me go ahead and pull it up on the screen. Let's go through it together. So here is the first page of our financial plan. And if we've already plugged all this information in, and you can see here we have the net worth, the investments, but none of this is really relevant as far as college savings go. This is just giving us a snapshot. So let me go ahead and dig right into the college savings plan, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the goal and then we're gonna save just for that goal. So we have to assume that at least we have enough of a cash flow that we could take that money and put it towards the goal. So I'm not gonna talk about how you can budget. That's gonna be something separate in another video that we can talk about. This is just gonna be focusing on the actual goal. So let me go ahead and look at the 2 goals. The first one's gonna be Ariana's education, and she is the older of the 2. She is age 5. And right here, we can see our cost calculator. And this is where I was showing you or telling you that we can look at how much costs are going to be. So this is gonna be the University of Florida. We can choose the amount of years, and we can increase this if you want. If you're gonna do 6 years like graduate school or something like that, we can add additional years, but we're just gonna keep it at 4 years for this walkthrough, and it will start in calendar year 2033. Our annual amount, that's in today's dollars, that's gonna be $21,431. And that number includes everything to go to college. And I'll show you right here. I pulled up UF's website and it's showing us all of the breakdown, and the number is off by $1, but it's basically the same. It's $21,430. Now, we go through all of these costs to get to $21,430, and it would be totally acceptable if you only wanted to fund a portion of it. We're just using the full amount, but we could easily go back and say, you know what? I just want to save for tuition and fees. That's $6,380, not a problem. We can put that into the cost calculator and figure out how much we need to save for the goal. There is no right or wrong answer here. What you want to do is figure out to get an idea of the costs of what you think you're going to end up spending for college, and then you can make the decision on how much you want to fund. So $21,430, and again, I point this stuff out. So if you see $21,430, and then you see our $117,000 goal, and you feel maybe that's just too much for you, and it feels a little discouraging, don't worry. Find a goal that works for you. I'm just going to show you how this walkthrough plays out. So let's go ahead and go back to our plan. Now this number, the 117, again, is inflated out. It's future dollars. So it's this multiplied by 4, and we're inflating it out at 2.52%. That is the historical average inflation rate. Now, historically for college usually inflates at about 1 to 2% more than regular inflation. And I know we're going through a period of inflation right now, so it's likely that college costs will continue to increase moving forward. But for this walkthrough, we're going to keep it at 2.52%. So let's go ahead and go to the next section, which is setting our funding. Now, we're choosing that plan that we already have set up, a 529 plan. We're going to assume an 8% rate of return that already has $12,000 set aside for the goal. And again, $2,400 on an annual basis going into it. Now, our total funding is at a projected 74%. So that means if we don't change anything, if we just continuously put in $2,400 and achieve our 8% rate of return with our current $12,000 already saved, Ariana will have 74% of that goal funded. And right here, the likely amount available will be $86,553 with a shortage of $30,507. And here's another view of what that looks like each and every single year. So we already have the 12,000. We add an additional 2,400, get our 8% rate of return. At the end of the year, that's going to work out to $15,360 after our first year of savings. So we can see that goes all the way through. Now, I want to point out, this is our 8%. This is not likely because if you look at the market's volatile, means the prices go up and go down, but we want to look at the straight line method so we can get an idea of how much we need to save. It's much easier math. Now we're going to also run a statistical analysis, which will give us the probability of success. And that's basically running it 1,000 times and the likelihood of getting real rates of return. And what's our likelihood of our success? Think of just flipping a coin. That's what we're basically going to do in these scenarios. But we're doing it 1,000 times for each and every single year to get a more realistic idea of whether or not saving $2,400 will get us to our goal, or what's the probability of success. So that's what we're going to flip back and forth to today. So we can see the probability of success right now is 0. Why is that? Because if we can only get to 74%, there's really no chance that we're going to get to 100% of our goal. That's why it shows as 0%. But once we increase our savings or make some other changes that I'm about to show you, then we will get to our goal and increase that probability of success. So let's go ahead and go to Alberto really quickly, and we can see basically the same thing. So Alberto's goal is going to be USF, the University of South Florida, and those costs are a little bit different, a little bit more, at $23,866 today. Inflating that out for 4 years is going to be $143,992. And the same thing, we're going to set the funding source at $5,000 and contributing that $2,400 every single year. And we're going to see that our funding is going to bring us to 70%. So we're going to have a shortage here of $42,551. And that's what we're really going to solve here today, is trying to figure out what are our options for meeting this goal. So I just showed you basically what our base facts look like. So where do we stand right now with what we're doing? So there's going to be 4 things that we can actually change. And these are going to be the 4 that we're going to be able to change in this plan. And I wrote them here up on the board so you can see it. Now, this is going to be for almost any financial goal that you're trying to achieve. These are basically what your options are. We can either save more to reach our goal. Instead of putting $2,400, we can start to ratchet it up to $2,500 a year, to $3,000. to $4,000. We can reduce the goal. Say, you know what? We're not going to fund 100%. Maybe we're only going to do tuition and bucks. Or we can change our investments. Instead of targeting an 8% rate of return, we can take on more risk and go to 9 to 10%, or we can delay the goal. Now, for the most part, college planning, we don't delay the goal, but it's a possibility. If you want to delay it for a year, maybe your son or daughter is going to go to overseas, or maybe they're just going to take a year off and then go to college. So we could possibly delay the goal, but this isn't going to be an option that we're going to choose today. We're going to keep the goal at the normal age of 18. So those are the 4 options that we can really change when we're dealing with a financial plan. So let me go ahead and bring it back up on the screen and we can continue with the plan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drill down just to the two goals that we wanna take a look at. And I will go right here to our plan. And on the left right here, we're gonna go to Ariana's education goal first. So we can see we have 74% on both sides because we haven't made any changes. On the left side is gonna be all of our current situation. So we call those our base facts. And on the right side is our proposed plan. These are the changes. So we're gonna be able to compare the two as we move closer towards the goal, making minor changes. And that's the key here. You wanna see if you can make minor changes to each one of those four areas rather than making one drastic change. So we don't need to necessarily go from $2,400 per month all the way up to $5,000 or $6,000. If we can make a small tweak to how much we're saving for the goal, maybe bring down the goal just a little bit, or tweak our portfolio just to get a little bit better rate of return. So that's actually the first thing that I'm gonna do in this plan. Instead of targeting an 8% rate of return, I'm gonna switch it to 10%. Now the S&P 500 has an annual compound rate of return of 10.5% from 1926 till 2021. So using 10%, a little bit on the higher target side, but it's still acceptable to use. And that's what we're gonna change. So that had a significant impact on the total goal. So it brought it from 74% all the way up to 90%. Just by changing the investments. So let's go ahead and make some more changes and see how that affects the plan. And I want to get it to 100%, and then we can take a look at our probability of success to make sure that we're on track. So let's go ahead and increase the amount that we're going to save. Instead of $2,400 per year, let's bring it up to $2,500 per year. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let's recalculate it. And it brought it up just a little bit more to 93%. So let's go ahead and continue that because we're so close to the goal. If we could just save a little bit more per year, let's bring this up to $2,800 and see how that affects the plan. So that's gonna bring it to 100% of our funding goal. But let's take a look at the probability of success in case we don't get the rate of return that we want to achieve. So it's gonna run it 1,000 times and we are not even close. We need to save more to make sure that we're gonna reach our goal. So again, we chose 10% every single year, but we know that's not likely. So we wanted to run that probability of our success to kind of give us more of a real world scenario in reaching our financial goal. And in this case, it's gonna be college savings. So let's bring that up to $3,200 and just see if we can get it up to the full 100%. We're at 58% right now. And it's rerunning the 1,000 projections. We are right there, 99% probability of success. That's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it right there for right now, 99%. And just before we move on, this is something that we're gonna wanna revisit each and every single year. We don't need to check this stuff every single week or month. We just want to set a plan up and just make the contribution, set it and forget it. That's really what these college savings plans are built to do, especially in the 529 plans, because you're not really dealing with individual securities. You're just dealing with a diversified portfolio. So that is what you want to do. At the very least, at least annually, but you don't need to check this stuff all of the time. So we're going to keep it at 99%. And we're gonna go over to Alberto's plan now. So Alberto is at the same probability of success, 0%, because the percent funded is just not high enough at 70%. So let's get this percent funded. Let's get that all the way up to 100. And we're gonna do basically the same thing. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change these investments and go to 10%. I really wouldn't target higher than 10% because these are hypotheticals. So it's not actually choosing the investment. That is a big difference. This is a cost calculator to give us an idea of whether or not we can reach this goal, that this is even attainable. So going over 10% is kind of unreasonable. Now, if you get more than 10%, that's great, but don't assume that you're going to get a 10% because what the effect is, it's gonna say, hey, you're doing fine, don't save any more. but really you probably should have saved more. So it's not really going to help you reach your financial goal just because you target a higher rate of return. So now let's go ahead and increase our savings amount. Let's bring it to $2,800 from $2,400. Click recalculate it. We're at 100%. Let's flip over to the probability of success. Is this really likely that we can reach this goal, or do we need to save a little bit more? I'm going to opt to save a little bit more. We're only at 74%. I would like to see it at 85% or better. So let's go to $3,200 for Alberto's savings plan as well. Recalculating it, and we'll probably be pretty close to 100%, if not 100. There we go, at 100%. Now, we could come back and reduce the amount that we're saving a little bit and kind of see, will it drop from 100? Do we have any wiggle room in here? We probably do. So let's go ahead and put it to 3,100 and see what that effect looks like. And again, it's running these 1,000 times, so 99%, that's pretty high. So we're gonna stick with that plan. So the two changes that we made to this plan, we're increasing the monthly savings between $50 and $100 more than what we were doing before, and made one tweak to the investment portfolio. But let me talk a little bit more on that target rate of return, because again, it's one of the biggest questions that I get. How do you figure that out? So let me show you some of the information that you might see out on the internet or that you might hear from other people talking about target rates of return. So I pulled this up to show you all the rates of return from 2021 back to 1926. And you can see that these rates of return are all over the board. Now, if we take a look at these and we just look at the average, and if we just highlight them, this is just a Google sheet right here, but if we highlight all of those returns, the average is 12.32%. But using 12.32% is not realistic at all. And I know that there are other people that talk about rates of return out there and talk about averages, and they say, well, the average rate of return over long periods of time was 12%. But it's not likely. Here's the reason why. If I pull up this board right here and just explain it really quickly to you, let's say that we had $100 and we actually lost 10%. Let's say that we lost 10% here. Well, if we lost 10%, that means we're going to be left with $90, right? So in order to get back to where we needed to be, let's say we just got a 10% rate of return on this 90. That's only going to add $9, so that's going to be $99. So what's our average there? So if we got a negative 10% rate of return and then a positive 10% rate of return, the average here is 0, but we're not back to 0. That's why you don't want to use the average rate of return, and it's something called the compound annual rate of return. That is what you want to use. So I've done this in other videos, and let me go ahead and bring it up on the screen so I can show you what this looks like. So this is the compound annual rates of return from 1926 to 2021, and this is the actual rates of return that the S&P 500 performed since 1926. And if I scroll down right here, from 1926 till 2021, 10.5. That means that the S&P 500 did 10.5% annual compound rate of return from 1926 to 2021. So that's why I say you can reasonably use a 10% rate of return, but if you could target a lower rate of return, it's going to be more conservative, and therefore it's going to increase the amount that you need to save. So that is that mathematical equation, that the higher our rate of return that we're targeting, the less we have to save. But don't just assume that you can target a higher rate of return in order to save less. You want to save as much as you can, and if your investments outperform and they do well, that's great. Then we can reduce the goal later on, or we just have extra money at the end of the day. And that's a better problem to have than not to have enough. So that is why we're targeting between an 8 and 10% rate of return, not really higher than 10%. That's why I always start with 8 and maybe ratchet it up to 10. So hopefully that helps as far as the target rates of return. Now, don't look at investment portfolios and look at the 1, 3, 5, and 10-year rates of return, because those are much shorter time frames. And the hypotheticals just might not work out for you, especially if we went through a period of good returns, positive returns, and if we go through a period of negative returns or poorer returns, then it's just not going to really do you justice. And obviously what I just said is that you're not going to be saving enough towards your goal. And here's the graph that's showing us with the performance or with those changes. So we can see the increased amount. The blue is our current plan and the green is the higher amount because we've increased our portfolio performance and the amount that we're saving towards our college savings plan. And at the very end for Ariana, we have a projected excess of $13,181. That means we have a projection that we're gonna have an additional $13,000, that she is not going to spend it. And it's not a big deal to project that. And if we end up having $13,181, that's also not a big deal in this scenario because you can take money from one 529 college savings plan and just transfer it to one of the other beneficiaries. That's not a big deal. You can either even transfer it to another family member, or you can just keep the money in the 529 plan for a later date. So if at a later date you have more schooling expenses, you can use that. Or as Ariana grows up and she has kids of her own, she could just keep the plan and then use it for her kids or another family member. The 529s are pretty flexible and you don't have to distribute them by the age of 30 like you would with a Coverdell educational savings account. And that is how you figure out a college savings plan. If you have any questions on this, let me know in the comments down below. You want to see future videos, let me know. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and we'll see you on the next one.